Okay. Welcome back to ADHD Awakening, the podcast where, to be honest, we don't have an intro yet, and we will. We're awakening to our ADHD. We'll probably play it in the intro. You won't have already heard it. So we're kicking today off. We're talking about the tree analogy. And if you listened to the first episode a little while ago, just as a quick reminder, the synopsis is tall trees have deep roots. And what we're speaking to here is the fact that ADHD is a lot of things at once. It's kind of everything everywhere all at once. And so in order to correctly, I don't want to say manage it, but to be able to like ground the energy and open up the gifts, grounding is super important. Being able to like keep your energy stable so that you can spread out your branches and do everything. So the idea I want to start with is ADHD is less about attention than abundance. Okay. Because if we think about it, everything is energy. Money is energy, time is energy, attention, everything, the things in your physical reality, everything is energy, relationships, thoughts. And with ADHD, we have a really elevated capacity to receive all of it. So I feel like, you know, when you're growing up in an environment where people have, let's say, maybe not that many ideas typically, and you've got like a ton of ideas all the time, you are going to look like someone who can't pay attention or focus on one thing at a time. When in reality, you're receiving a huge amount of information. That requires effort in order to ground and get those ideas out. It's like you've got a fire hose, right? And most people have like a kitchen tap. And that's not a knock to anybody. There's no good, bad. We're not making any value judgments here. It's just being a person with a fire hose in a world full of kitchen taps is going to require grounding your energy.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about today, because I feel like ADHDers have not just a lot of energies, but usually or ideas, but a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like we kind of collect things in like every area of our life, and that can become overwhelming.
Yeah.
So we're going to share a bit about how we stay grounded, what we even mean by grounding, and how to keep your energy steady so that all those ideas can come to fruition.
Love it. Amen.
Thank you. So ladies, okay, so let's start with the concept of grounding, because like if somebody's never heard of it, it's like what are we referring to when we say like grounding your energy?
Well, it's for me, it's been a word that I never heard until the
Mm.
past like 3 years. And so then
Mhm.
I heard grounding and I felt like basically I was living so much in my head that my body felt out of control. Like I would feel like crawling out of my skin. I like even the sensation of laughing would be too much for me to hold because I had so much
Mm.
in buzzingness in my body and too much like I like to call it like a tea kettle. Like all the time my tea kettle is
Mm.
always boiling and it goes really quick and I if I don't open the lid or turn it down just a little bit, I'll live in that high frequency of like screeching all day long and it's so intense. So for me grounding
Mm.
became a word that I learned and at first it was like okay how do I just calm down, but I didn't know what it meant. So for me now it simply just means balancing out my mind and my body so that it can all flow together. And so I know that doesn't really explain it very much, but it feels more just like how do I kind of like push down the thoughts to spread out evenly into my body and be able to hold a thought and complete a thought while there's still stuff happening here. So I can see it.
Mhm.
So through breath work or physical movements have been things like the sensory system of like body tapping is like my absolute favorite. I have to do it when I'm really in my head. And that just simply gets me to feel my body so that I'm like, okay, I'm here. It's like these thoughts are not leading the way. And I can then feel the other, I'll use the tree, feel the other branches. It's like certain times of the day, the wind is too much. So I have to really hold on to my roots.
Yeah.
I know that just totally went all over, and I have like 20,000 other ideas. So again, in this moment, I'm like, put my feet on the ground. Instantly, I start to think of my feet, and I'm like, okay, my feet are instantly, the moment my head starts to go, I'll notice my feet move up off the floor.
Yes.
And then I'll like
Love it.
start touching my feet, or I'll move, or I'll see my eyes kind of going all over the place. And I've basically built this new awareness. It's like once you actually learn what grounding is, it's like building the safety in your body to calm everything or get everything, but everybody on board. Like the arms got to come back in, the foot's got to come back in, like center
Oh
it
my
all
God.
in. It's that is for me, it's like I never realized how ungrounded I was until someone told me what it was. It was like finding balance within the whole being. And so now as I'm talking and I start to feel myself think like, wow, you're not on topic, you're kind of going all over the place, I'll start thinking in my body. And I'm like, oh, I'm grabbing my feet. My feet are literally off the floor. Like I'm
And
swinging my feet. I'm like, dee, dee.
see, like, okay, it's so important what you're saying because if we think of ourselves like trees, it's entirely that principle. Like if you've got like
Yeah.
a sapling, right? And its roots are not planted, that energy, like it's the tree's not going to grow, right?
Yeah.
As soon as it's planted, and it's funny because I mean we think we're so separate, but we're
Mm,
literally nature and we function in exactly the same way. So
yeah.
when our feet, and I remember this, I think was the first thing I learned about grounding was how important it is to have your feet literally on the surface underneath you, both of them flat.
Yes.
I remember I used to get really in my head in meetings, like when I was speaking to a supervisor that stressed me out, like somebody who was kind of intimidating.
Yeah.
So I started planting both feet before we spoke, and that made a huge difference. And then, okay, trickle effect into every other area of life. If I get overwhelmed, I notice the same thing. I'll sit cross-legged and
Yes.
start to get that overwhelmed feeling. And you're like, okay, bring your feet back down because our energy is actually meant to flow upward and downward.
Yeah.
So, and these are the things we're not taught,
And it's
right?
coming
So,
in and from both sides. It's coming like all directions. So it's just like
yeah.
how I just keep thinking of like the spine as like the trunk. So that has been
Yes.
my biggest awareness. And I've been just paying more attention to my body because I'm so in my head all the time that I forget about my body. And so I've been just like having random like timers in my phone. I used to do it for breath work, which was my first grounding tool I ever used. It was like every 2 hours I would do a minute of breath work. And then from there I was like, okay, well, what else, how else do I grow this grounding ability? I don't know any tools. No one was really giving me any tools. And then I started to learn like about the sensory system because my twins had sensory issues. And I was like, oh, interesting. So then I'd pay attention to like how I was sitting. And I was like, oh, interesting. I'd start to lean forward and I'd be like, okay, my trunk is droopy. I need to nourish in some way. Well, what do I need? And I'd start asking questions. And I feel like it's not a perfect science all the time. Like there's sometimes, especially I feel like with people with ADHD, because we lose that dopamine hit of like, this is not fun anymore. Like I've already mastered this. And like, what else can I add to
Right.
this?
Even sitting like
So
this, not fun.
yeah. And then so
I
instantly
know.
I'm like,
I
oh
like
gosh, I
sitting on my
gotta move. So that each level, I feel like the more you become aware, it's just going to be this growth of like you will gain more awareness of your body, and the more you do it, the more grounded you'll become in each stage. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Kim.
Yeah. So a couple of things that both of you said that I want to like tie together. One, you were saying, Sam, about like receiving huge amounts of information. I wrote down like antenna. You know, our bodies are these receivers and we are energetic beings. And you said like energy is meant to flow up and down. And Paige, you said something similar as well. And I definitely like you said, we can get almost like this storm like in our upper chakras, especially like when we're overthinking or we're in our head. And I definitely had so many years, like from childhood to my late 20s, of like severe anxiety, insomnia, overthinking. I remember one time I like had this thought that I like felt, it was like my anxiety could power a small city. Like I could feel so much like clusterfuck energy like in my body. And I was just like, what the fuck do I do with this?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
I eventually found the book The Power of Now, and that changed my life. And I like found it through this yoga class. And so similarly, like finding freedom through like finding peace in the body and moving that energy through. And so that changed my life. And I was just reading Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth this morning a little bit. And it was about like finding that inner space in the body and like always kind of keeping like almost like one eye, like keeping part of your attention on your physical body and like moving that space or feeling into that like inner space in your body. And maybe some of you are like, what the fuck are you talking about? But it's like a practice of learning, learning how to do that. And one of the things that has helped me the most, like besides meditation and breath work, is visualizing like my roots growing down into the ground and getting my feet in actual sand or soil or like on the earth, even if I'm inside, like getting my feet on the floor like we've talked about, and like seeing the roots grow down is such a powerful visualization for grounding.
Well, and I will say, if really quick, I just like have this thought of like yoga. So many people I know who have ADHD like avoid doing yoga, but I will say I couldn't sit for meditation until I started yoga. And it's so interesting. Like if you are someone who's like, I don't want to go to a yoga class, it's too quiet. I say start with vinyasa because it's quicker, but it is for somebody who's always liking a challenge, like pick a move. Like just randomly search up a move and then try to master that freaking move and play the game of like,
shout out to tree pose.
Right. Yep. And like when I taught yoga to like kids, I would teach them like you're standing in mountain pose. Mountain pose is not a like submissive move where you're just like, oh, nothing's activated. Like every part of your body's activated. You're pushing down with your feet. You're activating your kneecaps. I tell people like, pull your kneecaps to the ceiling and it will activate the whole muscles in your legs. Tighten your core. Push your hands down to the ground. Just that simple move of standing and activating every muscle in your body, that is a form of meditation. You are taking your mind and you're taking the thoughts and you're focusing it to one area at a time as you move up your body. Set a timer for a minute and try it. And that is meditation.
Like that's cultivating an ability that will change your life. And I think this is what I didn't understand earlier and before meditation, before all these things, right? Like at the point where I couldn't even read a book. If you can't focus enough to read The Power of Now, you need to ground the hell out of your energy, because I feel like the whole idea of abundance with ADHD, like I call these the ADHD F-words, right? Food, finance, and focus. And these are the three things that we struggle to moderate. That's what the issue is often, where it's like I feel like that one's not a problem. But if you think about it, right, like we'll try to
if it's
struggle to moderate, but also we use these things to try to ground. Like we'll spend impulsively trying to ground our energy, not knowing that's what we're doing. A lot. I think binge eating is super common with ADHD. I never knew that through my teens, that your roots chakra, which is like, for anybody who's not familiar with the chakra system, these are our major energy centers, and this one's at the base of the spine. This is why it's so important to have your feet flat, so that the energy can travel down through the root. Your root is your sense of safety, security. That's your finance. That's all of the things that ADHDers need live in the root chakra. So
in childhood.
Sending energy there will help you with the F words. It'll help you to ground. And if you're just getting started with this, all you need to do is like visualize the roots, like Kim was saying. That alone. And it sounds crazy, like, right? Like it sounds like, okay, if I'm binge eating, how is visualizing roots going to help me not binge eat? It just will. Like literally it just will. Try it every day, and it will get you closer to not using these things to compensate, because when an energy center is unhealthy, it'll try its best, because our bodies are so intelligent, to pull energy from elsewhere. So it's like, okay, so when we're dysregulated. But anyway.
Ooh, I want to say something here.
I could tell.
Start small. So like for me, I can't read a book thing, like that was a story that existed with me for a very long time. Like, I got my master's degree, like through college, through high school, I was like Spark Notes all the way. Like that was
Yeah.
what got me through. And I was a great skimmer. I could like skim and get the gist. And I was like, great, got it. And
Kim can skim.
then
Okay, keep going.
yeah, Kim can skim. So finally, I was told to read that book, The Power of Now, and that it was going to change my life. And I was like, all right, fuck it. So I went and bought it on my way home from this yoga class. And I got to the first page and I was like, whew, this is dense. Okay, this is like a lot of like complicated wording.
Wait, and were you reading at that time? Like,
No, like
was
I hadn't read like a book in
Oh my God.
years.
Okay, so this is like
She only
I
skimmed.
just finished Berenstain Bears and now I'm gonna read the dictionary.
Yeah,
It's like
exactly.
that.
That's why I like get this book and I'm like, fuck, okay.
Yeah.
So I would just like read each page. Like I'm like, okay, no, I didn't comprehend any of that. So I would like read it again and maybe like twice or three times, like one single page until I like got what the fuck he was saying. And then I would like kind of act on it. Like I would like meditate on those words, even though I didn't know what meditation was at the time. And it like eventually really did change my freaking life. I finished that book and I felt like I was on a mushroom high for 3 months. Like I was like got addicted to meditation. It was really wild. But the reason I did get addicted to it, because it was like for the first time in my life, like I felt space. I felt my energy like settled. I felt like my thoughts were clear. I felt like I could like be in my body. I sensed this like love and like divine presence and just like the universe inside me kind of feeling. And it was
Yeah.
like profound.
Yeah,
Yeah.
even the like it's so funny because you're like I unlocked life. But even before that was like sounded miraculous to an ADHDer that doesn't feel like they can get through a book. It's like not only do you know what I mean? Like what you're describing, that clarity, that if that's what you're craving, it's like I feel like what I want people to understand is what I wish I'd understood is that it's possible. Like
Yeah.
there is a way of being that supports that type of clarity. And it's
Yeah.
not that, ADHD is a stumbling block to that. It's just that we require kind of a special path to get there.
Well, and I want to say too, like, as you're both talking, I instantly was like laughing because I was like, my brain goes to, okay, well, it's like this all or nothing. And I've been trying to find these fun ways to like go in because I would normally like just cut out fully like everything I love. And that then backfired and came back. So
Oh
for
my
me,
God.
as you were
I wanna come
going, I
back to
wrote,
that.
no, ground with food. Like, no, go ahead. You can ground with food, but just change your food now. So like grounding food. Think of what food grows in the ground and then binge those things. Get carrot chips,
Great. That's a good
get
one.
beets,
Love that.
potatoes, like
Oh, that's a
find
good one.
things that are from the
Dang.
ground. So now you are just shifting, and I just got chills. So I was like, you're just
Yeah.
shifting instead of constantly punishing ourselves because we can't do things or we're doing too much of something. Do too
Yeah.
much of something in a good way. Like, how do we make it fun? Like, I hate it working out. So then
That's
I was
so
like,
good.
fine, well, I love watching TV. So I'm going to put on a TV show, and then I'm not allowed to sit until my timer goes off, and I have to run or walk in place until the timer goes off. And it was like, I would get to that point and I was like, I can go longer than this. And then I was going for the whole episode, or I was going for the whole movie. And then I would like push myself and be like, okay, well, what else can I do? And that's like our superpower. And even like
Yeah.
with the book, like I've noticed I used to love reading, and now because I don't have as much time, I can't focus when I'm reading. So now I'll listen to a book while I'm just looking at it, and I'm able to instantly comprehend it
That's
way
smart.
faster than if
Wow.
I was to sit and read a book. Because like there'll be times I'm like,
Yes.
okay, people are talking, okay, now, and I feel like because I'm building this awareness now, and I'm grounded now in like what's actually happening inside me, I'm sometimes more hyper aware of what's happening, and then I'm like more in my head. But just finding ways of like, how are we grounding ourselves? How are we dealing with what we're experiencing in a realistic way rather than such a quick like all or nothing? As I think that that's what I did. I mean, I went full vegan I did like, I mean, I was all or nothing. Now I'm getting into the point where I'm like finding the balance. Like, okay, I can eat healthy and not have to cut everything out. Like, how can I find
The
that balance?
balance. That, you know
Yeah.
what? I like that word better than moderation, because moderation
Yeah.
still implies like
Yeah.
management. Balance
Restriction.
is a
Yeah.
much better word. Yeah, because the thing is, and that I feel like points to the abundance thing too, right? Where it's
Yeah.
like everything or nothing.
Yeah.
That's such a common way that we
It's like the tree. If
feel
there's
and
too much
think.
sunlight with, not enough water, like we're
Yes.
depleting the tree. But so how do we find
Yeah.
that perfect balance? And it's not always going to be a
Mm-hmm.
perfect balance. And how do we thrive in that lack of nutrient in some way, you know?
Yes. But it's even in like things like avoiding or hyper focusing. Like if you think about it,
Yeah.
right? A lot of the time what stresses us out, we'll full avoid. And then what we
100%.
love gets all of our attention. And it's like, okay, so how
All of
can
it.
we, and I love your idea of infusing fun, because it's like, how can we
Yeah.
make pleasurable the things that we avoid? For example, with the
Mm-hmm.
F words, like if you're avoiding your finances, okay, how can you make that pleasurable? And I know Kim does this. You have your pleasurable money routine like every week,
I
and
avoid it.
I still do.
I know all about it. It's on my
we
schedule.
trying out here.
Yeah. And that's the fun. I think I just had this conversation with my sister.
I have done it.
Okay,
We-
theoretically.
Theoretically, yes. It's hard. It's hard to here's the thing. Let's just be real. Like, we're
It's
not
so
gonna be
funny.
perfect. We're gonna have good phases. And then there's gonna be shit shows that we're like,
And that's
sorry.
okay. Yeah.
I'll
Eventually,
aboard the hot
I'll
mess
pay the
express.
bill. It'll get done.
Choo-choo.
It'll get done.
I love that the hot mess express is my favorite. Chugga, 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 chugga,
I just see you going like,
you know?
I don't know. We're not just gonna keep beeping the horn, but I'm clearly the horn blower, so I'm just gonna keep doing it.
I keep
I'm
wanting to pull
coming.
I keep wanting to pull my feet up and cross my legs, but I'm like, no, you are grounding today. You know what? We haven't
We'll be
talked about
grounded in your sits bones now.
That's
There you
true.
go.
I'll focus on my butt. See, that's what it means to put the energy on to focus the attention on your root. Okay.
I like
We
the raw
haven't
body, definitely.
We
not.
didn't talk
I'm doing
about the
same
easy,
thing.
the dead easiest way. Actually, no, I guess the dead easiest way to ground is just to visualize the roots, but also the almost zero effort way, as long as it's not like snowy, frozen tundra outside, is to just go
Yeah.
outside and put your bare
Even
feet
if
on the
it
earth.
is. Even if it is. Like,
Really?
I
I don't know if
totally
you
go
guys
outside in
snow.
winter. You've never done it
In
in
the
the snow?
snow? I don't know.
Yes.
Have I? I probably for 2 seconds, but then I'm like,
It's
ew.
lovely. I know. Like, how long can I stay out here? I'm like, oh no, my toes are they gonna turn black? Like, my mom
Yeah,
used to
I'm
tell me
scared.
like my excrements were gonna be black like
Gangrene.
in 5 seconds. Like, you're outside too long. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Right? And like I'm in
So fun.
Canada, and you'd think we'd be like tough, but no, it's cold in winter. I don't like it. My toes.
It's kind of like a cold plunge, but for your feet.
I don't like the sounds of that, but
I don't like cold plunges, but I'll put my feet in the snow. I will. It's fun. I don't
What
know
about
why.
putting your feet also on like hardwood floor, I've heard is
Yeah.
something.
right.
Well, here's
because it's
one.
closer
I've
to the
never
element of-
executed this. I did it once. During the summer months, collect like soft, flat rocks, make a grounding
Oh.
mat. And
Oh,
then you could just
that's a
make
good
a cute little
idea.
mat where it's like if you can't get outside for work, you're sitting at your desk, put your feet on the rocks. It's
I
earth.
love that idea. Oh, right.
That's
We should actually
cute.
explain that a little bit, is because
Yes.
so the earth, and this one sounds super woo. So if you're already
Yeah.
there, you will get it. If you're not, just like just trust
Yeah.
us. The energy of the earth, like literally the earth's frequency, is grounding. So as soon as you make contact with it, that's pulling your energy downward in a healthy way. So if you're
Yeah.
feeling overwhelmed, like even if you have like meetings or work stuff, life stuff going on, if you can get outside for 5 minutes and just stand on the bare earth, the earth will just do this for you. Like it's beautiful. It's like this beautiful gift. So if you're bringing elements outside, like rocks, like Paige is suggesting, the earth's frequency will transfer to you. It's the same principle behind crystals
And I literally just had an image of a person putting it by their window and then like opening the window and sticking their head out while their feet are on. Like, just close your eyes
Cute.
and let it like hit your face and set a timer,
love
put on
it.
some music, and then get back to your day.
This
Aw.
grounding guru guy suggested, oh, I love that page. And he suggested when you travel to a new country to like, as soon as you can, get your feet on the earth because your like circadian rhythm will adjust to the like circadian rhythm in that place.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, that it'll help with jet lag. I was like, huh.
Very
That's
interesting.
Yes.
Hmm.
I think like the more you think about like what's in your physical environment, like if you're surrounded by a bunch of like tech shit and chaotic tech shit all the
Yeah.
time, not so great for your frequency. But if you've got like plants in your environment and natural elements, and there's not a ton of like physical things, because everything carries energy. So
Yeah.
if what we're looking at is stressful, you're gonna feel that in your body. And I feel like especially for, you know, energetically sensitive people, it's gonna make an impact. So
We just got back from Costa Rica. We were there for 2 weeks, a couple weeks ago. We like day 2, like once we got out of the city, like they have a big city, San Jose, but once we got out of that, like the feeling was just like so different, like the frequency of the place, you know what I mean, of Costa Rica was just like so liberating, so grounding, so like freeing. Not just there was like, it's not just the feeling of being on vacation, it was like so much more than that.
Yeah.
And like
peaceful.
coming back here, there's like telephone like we're by the beach, but there's like telephone wires everywhere and just like lots of density and like
Yeah.
people and like electronic energy. And so like we just felt that a lot like coming back, and we're so looking forward to RV life for that. We're gonna like live kind of in the mountains a little bit. It's just gonna be like a lot more, so I'll report back shortly.
I love it.
Yeah, this will be interesting. We'll follow Kim's journey.
Yes.
Like, literal
I
journey.
love it.
Yeah.
For
In
sure.
real time.
It's going to be very grounding for you.
Indeed. Ooh, okay. I had a fun little something
Take
based
me
on
anywhere.
something what you said, Paige, about the reading and listening at the same time.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of dive into that for a second of like kind of giving the mind an anchor, or like giving the, you know, as beautiful ADHD people, often we need to be doing more than one thing at once in order to focus, right? Or in order to be like completing that one thing.
Yeah, like add some
And
extra stimulation.
like as a kid, I'm sure you guys can relate to this, like doodling all over my tests, my papers, my notes, like just to, and it was like to help me focus. It was that
Yes.
like whole, you know, undiagnosed like self, you know, regulation. And
You could
it's
diagnose
like giving,
solely on that.
I know. It's like, let's see your notes.
Okay, yeah, you passed.
Yep.
Yeah. But it's like giving the mind something to
Underlining in a book. Like, find that.
Oh my God,
whole
like
book's underlined.
all your colors of highlighters.
Yeah.
What's your idea here behind underlining? I don't know. It just helped me.
I was tracking with you, Professor.
Yeah. I understood it. I just can't tell you what that means.
Yes.
Sorry.
But yeah, like bringing it back to like meditation, for example, because for me, that's one of the most healing things that I do, that helps me ground and regulate. And it's like giving the mind like kind of an extra stimulation or an extra thing to do, like mantras, or which means like those I am statements or those power statements.
Yeah,
And kind of giving your
anchoring.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like giving the mind an anchor.
Yeah.
Music, breath work, yoga, and kind of giving the mind something else to do instead of like like talking about that discipline or that forcing, right? That force energy of like, no, you must sit here and be quiet and be still in the nothingness. And it's like, no, you don't have to, you know, especially for people like us, it helps so much to give yourself grace, and also like that anchor, that's something to hold on to.
Yeah.
Right? Like we don't want to heal our energy in the same energy that it became chaotic. You know, it's like if we've learned that there's something not right, I feel like there's a strong kind of temptation to approach like grounding and healing our energy as in a fixing energy, and we don't want to do that. Like we want to understand that what we're, you know, the sort of, if you find yourself in chaos now, if that's what your energy has sort of manifested into your life, you're not doing anything wrong, especially if you're listening to this podcast in the hopes of, inviting in new energy. You're on exactly the right path. Like you're where you should be. And what you're looking at is supporting your energy, not fixing it. When we talk about healing it, it's just providing the things that you've always sort of needed for your energetic wellness,
Yeah.
and just haven't connected because it's not common in the society. So just, I think it's really important
I
to make
had
that
this image of
distinction.
like a person. We've been watching lots of superhero videos here in my house. So I've just been having these things where it's like this person has these superpowers, but they haven't come online fully. And they start to come in really quick and they're like, oh my God, I can't control it. Like, what the heck? I'm like freezing things or electrocuting things. And it's just like, holy, like, that's
Yes.
not going to
Yes.
go anywhere. So, like, your energy is not just going to be like, oh, I'm like, oh, it's all gone. Like, I just turned it off. There's like a button. No, you're never going to find the off button. There's no off button. It's just harnessing it. And like, sometimes that power is needing, it's like telling you, like, hey, we need to go blow shit up right now. Like, not literally. Okay, let me rephrase that. I need to go.
Disclaimer.
Don't do disclaimer. Please do not blow anything. Oh my God, I'm gonna get like FBI at my door tomorrow. No, but it's like this energy of like, right now I'm feeling powerful. So I have so much. Where do I need to channel this energy? Like, how do I do this?
Yes.
And so, like, I've just been talking to my one daughter who is, I believe, an ADHDer. And I was like, how do we balance the things that we want to do, that it takes our mind away from doing the things we have to do, because those things have to happen. So how do we reward, and like, how do we make it fun? That's the joy of being ADHD. It's like, we have this like built-in fun. I'm going to call it a funometer. Like, we're always fun.
Beauties.
We are never boring. So like, never boring. And how fun is that? Like, you having this whole, like, I like to call it a party all day inside me. It's like there's multiple personalities here. There's like, some days I'm chill, some days I'm, it's like, depends on what you want. And I'm like, how fun is that? That we don't have to stick to one little thing. So like, today I want to eat like crap. Okay, cool. I know then I got to balance out my water. Like, how do we do this all day? And it's like, you have this superpower and it's okay. It's not going anywhere. You choose to use it today. Cool. You choose to let it use you. Okay. Tomorrow's another day. Like,
that's it.
It's going to get done. Everything is still going to be there.
Yes. I love that. The channeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to say something that like kind of came up to that as related to that page. Huge of just everything coming in and kind of going back to the antenna and like this awakening journey and like, finding out who we are, discovering the ADHD, all of that. But coming back to it's like we are antennas, right? We're energetic beings. And again, most people live at like a tap level, of energy coming through or whatever. And we're a fire hose. And I remember as I first started like meditating, I was like, oh my God, am I actually fucking insane? Because what was happening, I was like, do I need to go to a mental hospital? Because what was happening was like, it was like a radio frequency. Like it was like, it sounded like someone was turning a radio dial and I could hear like different voices, different accents, like random shit coming through. And it was like, what is happening? I was like, 100%. I actually feel like when I actually got quiet and started listening and paying attention to what's going on in there, I was like, whoa, like there is a crazy giant universe out there and I have access to it, but it's also freaking me the hell out.
No wonder I have anxiety.
It's totally on point. It's it's overwhelming. It's
for sure
for the mind.
And it makes sense that for my entire life, like I drowned it out. Like I was like, I cannot meditate. I cannot like be still. I can't listen. I used to always have music, always have the TV, like always have something going. And my dad was the exact same way. There was always something in the background and like
you
always
didn't realize,
something drowning
right?
out.
Like until you got still enough, you didn't even know that was your
exactly. Yeah.
And see, like, look at the energetic. It's like you needed to build an energetic foundation to even handle getting quiet like that, right?
Yeah.
Because like you just said, look at what was happening before you did that. It's like if you don't have the capacity to to handle looking inward
Mm-hmm.
when what's inward is a lot. No
Yeah.
wonder you're functioning in like a high degree of anxiety, high degree of overwhelm at all times. Because
Yeah.
Yeah.
again, like when you start to get quiet, you're kind of like, am I crazy? And it's like,
Yeah.
no, you've just got a
Well, and
lot
that's
going on.
before I was diagnosed, when I started like my healing journey, because I knew just like there was just like lots of things blown up. I went and got Reiki for the first time, like never did it. And I left and I called my sister and I was like, something's wrong. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I don't have a thought in my head. Like, she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, there's nothing. Like, I can't hear anything. Like, and she's like,
Yeah.
what? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, you don't get it. I don't, there's something wrong. Like, I can hear one thought at a time. And she was like, okay.
She's like, yeah,
And then
Paige,
I
it's
got to the
Tuesday.
front of my house and I start to walk into my house and
Normal.
instantly everything came back in. And that was the first
Wow.
time I realized how intuitive I was. Like I can
Mm.
feel people's energy and I apparently am probably hearing their emotions or feeling their emotions. So that was my, and then when you say antenna, that's what I feel all day. And then when I
Yeah.
did Reiki, it was able to clear out everyone else's energy and it was just mine. And I was like, holy hell, like this is
Yeah.
amazing. And also
Mhm.
terrifying because it's
Yeah.
never been quiet. And that is when
Yes.
I started to entertain like,
Mm.
what could this mean? And
Mm.
that was very interesting. But
Yeah.
doing the
Yeah.
Reiki, now that is like the next level of journey of like grounding and knowing like, well, what is mine? What is theirs? And that sense of like, the thing I start to do is like I did it like right now as we're talking, I'll start to clench like tighten my ab muscles to and then push my butt muscles down. And instantly, because the moment I start to feel other people's energy, like as because I can feel both of you as we're talking, I have to feel my body. Otherwise, my thoughts go wild. So that has been a
Mm-hmm.
major grounding point where I'm like, where do I begin? Where do I begin? And it's just like that
Mm.
connection, which is I'm still hearing and still feeling, but I feel safe. Like, okay,
Mhm.
we're right here. We're not over here. We're not there. We're here. So that antenna is just like, okay, well, there's a
Mhm.
base to that antenna. So
Yeah.
where do we start and where does other people begin?
And
And
just like
so
electricity, right? It needs like that grounding wire in
yeah,
order to function.
Yes.
yeah. And all the
Oh,
Mhm.
trees
that's
are like when you think about trees, they're all their roots start to intertwine. Their energy, their
yeah.
Mhm.
branches sometimes intertwine. Like everything is interconnected. So how
Yeah.
do we learn that autonomy of like who we are? Where do we begin?
Yeah.
And that centering, that grounding, because the
Mhm.
energy is never going to stop outside of us.
That's
So
it. Like what you're both describing is abundance, right? And it's like
yeah,
Mhm.
if you've got a lot of energetic sensitivity, these lots of things
mm,
going on, you've got a ton of branches. Like you're a huge tree.
yeah,
And it's like you're either going to, if the root system isn't sufficient, the tree can't thrive, right? It's like in order
Mhm.
to use your gifts, like because like you both have like tremendous gifts of like of healing and intuition and like these beautiful things you've been gifted with that, I'm just so grateful that you are aware of grounding your energy because otherwise like you'd just be functioning in high anxiety and not be able to use them, right? It's like we
yeah,
have this
Mhm.
tremendous capacity to heal each
Yeah.
other with these gifts, and it requires that extensive root network.
yeah.
So
And
Yeah.
that, go ahead.
If
I
you're
know you've
still
been
here,
waiting.
I have a crazy no, I have a crazy story that like is gonna synthesize all of this that I feel called to share.
yes, yes.
Love it.
Paige, you were talking about watching like the superhero stuff. We
Yes,
watched the Umbrella Academy at one point, and there's like this
Mm.
girl
oh,
who
I love
like
it.
has the violin girl, and she has like all
Yes,
of this like energy, and she like explodes the whole city. And one time I did a plant medicine ceremony with like two Reiki masters and like seven people from this
yeah,
thing. And we did this plant medicine ceremony. And at one point, I was like, started feeling like everybody's like energy from the room. And I was like, okay, like I had this moment of like, I accept that I'm gonna like process like emotions for like everybody in the room so that like everyone can like have a good time and be free. And so like I start like weeping and like sobbing and like sweat is pouring from me and just like I can like feel this energy coming through, and like the Reiki masters like come on side of me and they're like helping like literally like ground the energy.
Yeah.
And I can like see it visually like a funnel, and it's like coming through me, and then it starts getting bigger and bigger, and I like start processing for like my ancestors and family and like theirs, and like then it was like the block, like the like surrounding area where we were, and then it was like growing and growing and growing, and
Wow.
I could like see it, you know, with my eyes closed, and I could like feel it. It was like so intense.
Oh my goodness.
And like all of a sudden, like they could see it too, right? And they're
I
like,
feel
shut
already
it
like,
down.
Oh
And they're
my
like, we have to
God.
shut it down.
Cities are losing power.
Blow this shit up. No.
Oh my God. And I was like, holy fuck. Like just realizing like, you know, that word empath, right? Like the ability that we
Yeah.
have to like feel and heal and process for one another, like especially if you're a highly sensitive, intuitive, you know, highly sensitive person, and you can really feel the emotions of others. You likely have these abilities too. Like we are way more powerful than we can even conceive.
Yeah.
And as we learn to ground, as we learn to tap into these things, as we become aware of it, I love this quote, like one awake is more powerful than 1,000 asleep. And
Yeah.
if you've made it this far, if you've found us, like we know that, you know, you have these abilities too, and like your own gifts, and it's like the beauty is in the unpacking and figuring out what those are, and finding, you know, the right like support and mentoring and all those things that can help you unlock those, because it's a wild journey to try and do by yourself. I will tell
Yeah.
you.
And just the community who understands you, because when you're around people who
Yes.
don't understand you all day,
Yes.
it can be a
Yeah.
mind F, because
You
they're
can
like
swear.
looking at you all the time. Yeah, a mind fuck, okay. No, it's just like so interesting, the journey. Like when I would just have this realization because I saw my friend from preschool the other day, and it was like
Mm.
I instantly was drawn to her because she just accepted my weirdness, and she's like, I knew you were ADHD. Like, how did you not? And I was like, what? Why didn't you ever say anything? She's like, I don't know. I just figured you knew. And I was like, she's like, how did you not know? Like,
How
you
were her parents so
accepted,
woke?
right? She was like, she's always like, I always knew. And I was like, and instantly, like, we picked each other, and it was like, and then we fell apart because then I felt like in high school we fell apart. And I never really understood why, but I think it was more me trying to fit in. And then I was like, I'm going to be cool. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And then I found people who did not accept me, and I had to conform. So it's just like, and then as you get older, you're just like, you look back and you're like, I had it all right when I was little. Like, and then I tried to like grow up and then screwed everything.
Yeah.
Like, don't grow up. It's a trap.
It's a trap.
It's a child, man. They should run the world. I'm not going to lie.
Well,
Was
technically
so
that
good.
is us
You're a
because we've
child.
reconnected to our child selves. So
Yeah.
technically we are children now. I mean,
Yeah,
the
I
world
love
is
being a
run
kid.
with by children, just not all of them have been reparented. But that's a whole nother thing for another time. What
Yeah,
we're
wounded
talking about is the
children.
interconnectedness of the tree roots, and that is a beautiful thing.
Yes.
Yes.
They are clearly
Yes.
not grounded. See, grounding is so important. Otherwise, you function from a very
Chaotic place.
shaky place.
If you weren't looking, if you're not watching on video, Paige was waving her branches above her trunk.
I'm a wild tree, everybody.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot to tell you, Kim, you're responsible for wrapping up. What I
I
mean is,
am.
if it's time to wrap up, I
I
see that
feel
as
like
that's you.
I feel like we should
yeah.
bring
lean on
somebody
you
through
for
a
that.
grounding. Why don't you give them why don't we do like a grounding
Oh,
meditation to leave with? And then we could put that in a note. So if you're lucky enough
I
to
like it.
hang out with our ADHD tangents and wildness, then you get a lovely grounding.
What a great idea.
I'm gonna
Okay,
pitch that to Sam for this one, and then I'll wrap us up. I'll bring us home.
Okay, I love it. Okay. Why don't we do a mini, just in case, if anybody doesn't want to stay for this, I don't know why you wouldn't. I feel like we did a great job selling it. But if you want to go, you know, this is not school. You're free to do as you please. If you would like your energy grounded, that's what we're going to do now. So just getting into a quiet spot. And if you're driving, you might want to pause and just do this later. Because we're going to have you sit in a comfortable seat. and just feel the weight of your seat settling into that surface, the chair, the bed, wherever you're sitting. I want you to draw your attention also to the other points of connection. So your feet on the surface beneath you. And to just take a few deep breaths, sending the breath all the way down. And making sure that you're breathing deep into the belly, not from the chest. Because as your energy settles, we want to direct the flow downward. And as you relax deeper, allowing gravity to pull you into the same frequency of the earth, I want you to draw your attention to your sit bones and to your root chakra at the very base of your spine. And I want you to visualize a deep red light swirling around that root, encircling the base of your spine, and starting to grow out deep red roots from the root of your spine and the bottoms of your feet. And on a deep inhale, breathing those roots down into the earth. Through every layer of earth, of dirt, and sending those roots to wrap around the earth's core. And on your next inhale, I want you to draw the energy up from the center of the earth, make its way up your roots, back into the soles of your feet, to settle in your root area, encircling your spine with a brighter, more vibrant light, absorbing this frequency from the earth. Allowing your energy to be heavy at the base, to allow movement into this heavy energy, just stirring the red light that's there. And just take a few moments to enjoy the peace of this frequency as your energy comes into alignment and back into balance, as the flow is restored in your root, allowing movement, allowing the energy to settle. And when you're ready, I want you to breathe those roots back up through the earth, detaching from the core, and allow the roots to come back up into your feet and tuck away into the base of your spine. Just feeling the last of this frequency shift as your energy comes into peaceful balance. Okay.
Wow. Thank you, Sam.
So
You're
good.
so
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, I mean, that
I
was
wanted
like
to
2 minutes, and just I want everyone to just notice the energy shift.
so good.
Go ahead, Paige.
I did want to share. I was struggling with my body in that moment. So, one thing you can do if you were finding it difficult to relax muscles in your body, starting any meditation with an inhale through the nose. So, you'd inhale as much as you can and then tighten all your muscles at the top of the breath and then hold it and count as long as you can. And on the exhale, you'd make a heavy sigh out the mouth and release as much as you can and let the shoulders drop. And then start again and do that a few times to just help to release the muscles. Sometimes they need your attention to fully release, because that's what I felt a lot, and my shoulders kept going up. So that's an indication that your body is not relaxed in that moment. Thought that would be helpful for anybody who was struggling with sitting still for that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It was so good.
So good.
Love it.
Oh, this is such a freaking pleasure, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. For those of you who are still here, we love you. We are so excited to keep all this goodness coming. It's just such a fun thing for us to flow and share our experiences and our knowledge and wisdom as beautiful and perfect ADHDers in this world who have just become aware through life, through support, through figuring shit out, and ultimately
connecting our roots.
Yes, and connecting our roots together so that we can bring this forward for you guys. So it's our honor, our pleasure, and we are ADHD Awakening Podcast. Please connect with us so we know that you exist. We have an Instagram at ADHD Awakening Podcast, where you can find us there. There you will also find a link to our YouTube. And yeah, thank you so much. We so appreciate you. We will see you in the next episode.
Thanks for being with us.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Love you.